All right, I can take my Post-it note off and throw it away. Do y'all think I own stock in Post-it note? Use as many Post-it notes as I use. Today we're going to talk about recruiting. Last week we spent some time talking about recruiting at your parties, how we use the Tic Tac chocolate as a great recruiting tool to get our hosts to engage in a cocoa chat. We talked about identifying people at parties by their actions, not just their words, but their actions. That's always a great way to identify them. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to have some activities today that you're going to actually be participating in. So be ready to do some little work here, a little different. Galaxy Note 5, if you can just send me a chat and let me know who you are. I'm not sure which person joined us from Galaxy Note 5. So the thing that I want you to do is, I want you on page 32 of your workbook, in the middle of the page, there's a little chart and it says, people I know who will be interested, people I know who will not be interested. Now, I'm just gonna be honest, if you haven't figured out yet, I don't think you've missed, I think you've missed kind of the gist of this whole recruiting thing. I'm not even gonna take you through that activity because I hope you've realized that we don't know. I think it was Monday, maybe I didn't say this on a group call. We are not mind readers. So we don't know. I'm just gonna skip that part because I don't even want you to go through the exercise. Because I want you to know we don't know who's interested. We don't know who's going to be involved in this. And we don't know when things change. So I'm gonna give you a couple of different stories. And one is the story of prejudging, or when we're new. So often, and if you were totally honest, how many of you have thought, well, she knows I'm doing, let's say a friend or an acquaintance, she knows I'm doing it. If she wanted to do it, she'd let me know. Anybody ever had that thought go through their head? Be honest. So that's a lot of times why we avoid asking the people closest to us, because we think, well, they know I'm doing it. If they want to do it, they'll let us know. Or we do that, oh, you ought to do this thing. And we call that inviting them to join, right? So I was when I started in this industry 26 years ago, 27 years ago, I used to go to a sales meeting every Monday night. So you think this is a commitment? Just imagine going every Monday night. And honestly, I think one of the reasons I've done so well in this industry is I don't ever think in my head I really got that I was independent and could make choices. They told me to do it and I'd be successful, and I did it. And so that's why so often I say, if you do what we tell you to do, you're going to be successful. When I joined Tupperware, I was told to be successful, I needed to hold 5 to 7 parties a week and talk to 5 people a week about selling Tupperware. And by golly, every week I just about did 5 to 7 parties a week. And I can remember on Sunday nights, because we actually had to turn in a report, like a written report as a manager. And with our 5 people we talked about listed and the results and their phone number and everything. And let me tell you, that was great because that accountability, I'm glad I didn't know that people didn't do it. I'm glad no one ever told me you don't really have to, because the truth is you really do have to be successful. You have to do the work, right? So anyway, I was at this sales meeting, and usually about 200, 250 people would come in. So remember last week I told y'all my group always sat in the back. That's where my manager's team sat. So I was sitting there and I was fairly new, and all of a sudden there was this girl named Carol Green. She was kind of my nemesis in a good kind of way, because we started the same week, we earned our cars the same week, everything was about the same, and we were always kind of competing. And all of a sudden she walked in, and right behind her was this girl named Stacy from my Sunday school class. Now, I didn't go to a big monster church. There were probably 20 people in my Sunday school class. And I looked up and I go, Stacy, what are you doing here? She goes, oh, I just joined Carol's team. And I go, well, you did? Why didn't you join mine? She goes, because you never asked me. Hard lesson learned. Stacy earned a car. Stacy was a good manager. Never again did I assume that someone would tell me they wanted to do it. I don't want you to live what I live. So please learn from my mistake. Don't assume. Don't be casual in your asking, because casual asking is normally not asking. It's suggesting. Carol obviously made Stacy feel very good about herself and that she could do this. And you know, if I'm going to split my church friends with someone else in the business, I'd like to split them with someone on my team, right? Not somebody else's team. So yesterday, actually Samantha and I were working together, and she got to experience, we talked about a coworker. And Samantha, we were talking about, because Samantha, I would ask her to come on. I don't know, can you talk when you're at work or no? No? Yeah, can you come off mute a second? So she just had an aha about how we ask people, because she was calling people. She wanted to do some three-way calls. She's really determined to get to leader this month. So y'all cheer her on, and I hope all of you are just as determined. And she wasn't getting the results. And it doesn't matter that we didn't get the call made last night, because we will. But Samantha was not getting the results in setting up her Coco chat. So I said, hey, before you do any more, call me. Let's talk about what you're saying. And then so I gave her some word choices, and I asked her some questions. And this is going to come in handy in just a little bit when we work on the who do I want on my team. Samantha, I know I didn't even tell you to do this. You might be going, I don't know what you want me to say, but I just want you to be honest. What did you learn yesterday when we talked about how to invite your friend Brandy? What the difference in what you were doing by calling and say, hey, can you get on a conference? Why don't you tell them what you were saying first, and then what you learned to say going forward?
Well, the first thing that I was doing that I noticed that I was doing wrong was that I was inviting them to talk with my business coach. And I wasn't really making them feel like that it was something they wanted to do, something they were good at, something that they could excel at doing. So I was making it more about me without realizing it, thinking that I was making it about them, but I really wasn't. So then afterwards, it became...
Stop right there. Tell them your exact words, because when I heard your words, it's probably a lot of words some of you may be using, and I think I want you to hear it. Do you remember what your words were?
I mean, I'm so sorry. I don't.
Okay, I'll tell you what I remember. So she said she was calling people going, you know, I want to call and see, I'm going to meet my business coaches agreed to help me with my business. And I wanted to see if you would join us on a conference call. Okay, that's nothing about them, is it?
Mm-mm.
And it sounds pretty stoic. It doesn't feel very inviting. Now, that sweet smile right there and that sweet voice, you have to realize not all of us get that benefit that we have a sweet smile and a sweet voice. But even with that, it doesn't feel real inviting to that person. It feels like, oh, great, I'm getting on one of those calls where they're going to try to tie my arms behind my back and throw me on the ground. And she's even got fatigues on, and she probably can do it, right? So you want to make them feel. So then we talked, and now tell them what your approach is going to. Tell them, if you can, a little bit about.
Well, now it's more about getting to know the person. So Lori asked me specific questions to help me, like what made this person a top priority or a top choice for me wanting them to be a part of my business. And I realized that she was hardworking. She was dedicated. She persevered through tough situations, and she was always had a good attitude no matter what happened. So being able to tell her that in person, you know, Brandy, this is why I chose you. This is what you mean to me. And these are the qualities that you have that are hard to find in people. And because I did that, I felt like I was connecting more with her on a personal level and not just a business level.
So her invitation turned to, Brandy, you know, some of the things I love about you is you are such a dedicated and persevering person. And I know that when you first came to our team, this is the key right here, she got specific. When you first came to our team, there were people that were trying to set you up to fail. And no matter what, you came to work every day with a smile on your face and determined to work through it. And you know what? It's people like you that succeed in our business. And I would love for you to hear about how you can take what you already have and be successful in this business of your own and be my business partner. Now, what we did was The first part where she talked about how she persevered and all of that good stuff, it's pretty specific. But when she said, when you joined our team and people tried to make you fail, she could, that's when Brandy connects and says, wow, she really looked at me as a person. Samantha can't say those exact words to anyone else, can she? So that says, wow, she isn't just thinking about filling a spot. She's really thinking about a person. So that's where we want to, that's where we're going to head a lot today. So thank you. I know, Samantha, that put you on the spot and you're at work. So I really appreciate that. So the first activity we're going to do today is I want everybody to take out a piece of paper and I want you to write the 7 days of the week with some space in between each one. So like Monday space, Tuesday space, with that, just like that. 7 days a week and some space in between. All right, so here's what you're gonna do. It's a real simple project. Monday, where do you go? What do you do? Do you go to work? Do you have a kid that's in soccer? You take to soccer practice? Are you part of a book club? I want you to do that for every day of the week. Remember, maybe you don't grocery shop on a certain day, but it's got to be on there. I'm sure you do it unless you're fortunate enough to have somebody do it for you. Do you go to the cleaners weekly? Do you go to the bank weekly? Do you go? I want you to put, but breaking it in days, say Mondays. For those of us that have really busy schedules, or when I think back now, my schedule's not as busy with outside activities. But when my children were young, you know, some days it was soccer practice, hockey practice, softball, church, activities. Every day I want you to write down, where do you go and what do you do outside of your home. Post office, if you do that weekly. I know Sharon's involved in softball, so she probably has some softball practices and games. I know Jennifer has a daughter that cheers, so I'm sure she's at cheerleading practice at times. I know that Phoenix is involved with a lot of the zoos and the arts around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Maybe she has certain days that she, you know, volunteers or does things there. I know Jean is on her condo association. Maybe she has a day that she meets with them. You know, think about all the different things that you do. Once you've completed that list, I want you to write one person by each place you go. If you don't know their name, you can put clerk at post office. If you do know their name, I want you to write a name of a person. If you're struggling, I mean, do you even take and pick up your kids from school, get out of the car instead of staying in the car? If you do, I mean, I'm trying to really stretch your thinking. If you have days you don't have anything that you do, figure out what could you do. All right, you can continue this list. So what we're going to do with this is going to be starting your lead list. Vanessa O'Rourke, who's one of our top senior managers in our company, about 2 years ago exactly, it was February 2 years ago, no, maybe it was January, but anyway, 2 years ago, she and I were working together, and Vanessa comes from a career where she made over $200,000 a year. And when she decided to have children, especially her second child, they put enough money away for her to stay home for 5 years so that she would not have to go back to work. She started her Dove Chocolate Discovery business when her baby was probably about 3, and she started building. Well, she got kind of comfortable, and as time went on, once the baby turned 6 or 7, Rob, her husband, who's a really great guy, started saying, that money we put away for that 5 years is stretched to 7 years, and we really got to step it up here because you're not making, we're living like what we used to make instead of what we're making now. So she came to me and she goes, I've got to really step it up. She goes, because we have looked into it and I don't want to go back to work. And quite honestly, I could walk out the door right now without a lot of trouble and get a job making about $65,000, $75,000 a year in the industry I was in. Not where she was, that would have to build back up, but I need to get my income. And she was nowhere close. She was making about $1,500 a month. Well, we put together a business plan. And I remember the reason I'm sharing this is because when we first started that first day, she's just like, I don't know who to call. I've recruited myself out of business, all my friends and da. And she has, by the way, recruited a lot of personal contacts, a lot. And so we did this activity right here. And this is what turned Vanessa's, she realized I do know other, because I said, you do know people. Didn't I just see on Facebook, Zach's on 2 new soccer teams? Isn't it that time of year where, gosh, I can't think of her daughter's name. Just went off the side of my head. One of her brand new babies, Addison, but I can't think. Riley. Isn't Riley in dance? Are all those people know she's in a new dance class? And she had to get out of her comfort zone where she had done, bringing in $1,500 without really working too hard, holding a couple of parties a month is not a bad income, right? It's a great little extra. But she realized, I've got to get out of this. So we set a business plan for her. And what it did was, first off, she had to load up her calendar, because just like you, just because people are managers and know what to do, sometimes we get comfortable. And we set a goal so that by March, she'd be making $3,500 a month, $4,000 in April, $5,000 in May, $6,000 in June. And I'm here to tell you, she met every one of those goals. And it started, now granted, she already had a little bit of it, she had a good team in place, but it started because she loaded up her date book. We thought, okay, up front, you've got to own a very large portion of that income through your personal volume. So, it was sell 32, it was like by March, she had to sell, or I think in February, so maybe we did this in January, getting her back to where she was holding 2 to 3 parties a week, and that she was making selling no less than $3,200. So she was maximizing that 40% income and then growing it. And then at her parties, recruiting and training at her parties, because here's the deal, she didn't, and this is something we'll talk about in class 5, is your party is your best training ground. So when you're holding that many parties, you don't have to spend a lot of time on the phone training chocolatiers, because every time they call you need help, you say, I have these 3 parties this week. Which one do you want to go on? You can learn everything you need to know. Now, yes, there are some that are remote, and we'll talk about that as well. But it really cuts down, and she was actually, so she's working smarter, not harder. She's getting paid to train because she's making her money at her parties while they're just sitting watching, and it's not taking any additional time. So with that being said, she started with this, and I'll tell you, it wasn't comfortable for her. Just because she's been doing it for a long time, longer than many of you, doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily gets that easy. Today, if you were to say, Laurie, let's go to the mall and start talking to people about the business, the first person I'd approach, I'd still have some butterflies in my stomach. However, after that first one, it would start rolling off my tongue and just getting out there, and it becomes fun again. So I want you to make sure that this week, each day of the week, you're looking at this list and saying, okay, who am I going to approach wherever I'm going to already be? Doesn't add any time to your schedule. What are you going to ask them? Remember, just telling people what you do does not put them in your book. You have to ask them for the action that you want, either for a recruiter or for a party. So you need to be prepared to give a 30-second commercial. It's like your introduction before your question. And on page 33, you're going to see that it talks about your 30-second commercial. Now, what is really common is people, instead of telling people what you do, people tend to tell people who they are. Hi, I'm Laurie. I'm with Dove Chocolate Discoveries. I own my own business. I'm an independent chocolatier. That means nothing to people. In fact, I laugh because when I first heard chocolatier, I thought a mouseketeer. How many of y'all thought when you heard the word chocolatier, you saw little ears right here? I thought mouseketeer. So they don't know what that means. Or it sounds very, a chocolatier, somebody from France in their little place making their chocolates, whatever. No. So we have to tell people what we do. So if you notice here, it says, I'm Laurie, and I have the opportunity to bring Dove Chocolate Discoveries fantastic products that you may never even think of, like chocolate-inspired moles and salsas and martinis to people, and have fun doing it. That is what you do. So I want you to take a second, and I want you to write down a start to your 30-second commercial. So when you're talking to people and they say, what do you do? You can tell them who you are, but only, I don't ever say I'm a chocolatier. I say, I work with Dove Chocolate Discoveries, and what I do is. So I want you to fill in that blank. What I do is, how you're going to introduce yourself as you're talking to people to engage them in wanting to hear more. So this is something how my 30-second commercial is when people talk to me and say, what do you do? And I say, well, I work with a great company, Dove Chocolate. You know Dove Chocolate, right? And I get to do home parties, kind of like a Tupperware party, but all chocolate. Isn't that way better than plastic bowls? And we serve things like martinis and truffle fudge brownies. But what really people can't even believe is we also have things like chocolate-inspired Coco Roma pasta sauce, a chocolate-inspired mole, a salsa. You just get your friends together, and I get to treat you all to a night of chocolate indulgence. That was 29.42 seconds. I put my stopwatch on right before I started. So did you see how much information I got in 30 seconds? Now, if you heard that, would you not have a positive response? I get, oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. Well, let me get your number and I'll give you mine. Let's exchange information. I'll call you back when you're not so busy and we can talk more about it. Or why don't we, if you're in a place, why don't we set something up so you don't just hear about it, you can see about it and taste about it. You know, just make it fun. If people see you're lighthearted and you're not stressed, hey, why don't we see about it, taste about it. You know, those are not that's not good grammar, but who cares? It sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, yeah, I'd love to do that. Let me check my calendar, right? Tell you what, let's pick out a day, at least a day of the week. When you get home tonight, I'll give you a call and we'll nail down whether it's going to be next Thursday or the following Thursday. What usually works best for you. And by the way, here's a sample you're going to fall in love. And I use my sample then as my close. But you can get a lot of information in. And so part of your homework tonight is to send me your 30-second commercial. And time it. I just did that off the cuff without knowing how long it was going to take. So it's kind of a surprise. I was hoping I got it all in. You can get a lot of fun information in 30 seconds. I described almost a party. So homework step number 1 is to do your 30-second commercial. So as you go out and about this week, step number 2 of homework is 7 days this week, while you're out and about, you're going to approach someone and you've got your 30-second commercial ready. All right. Let me see how we are on time. Oh, good. We're a half hour. All right. So a couple of other ways to get, this is back to the party, but it falls into this section. So on page 34, you're going to find that it talks about the drawing slip. And I've always been a huge fan of the drawing slip. However, I have found lately that I can just use the top of my order form just as effectively. Because quite honestly, I find, you know, when you have, are you interested in a party? Are you interested in this? A lot of people just circle no or maybe, and I want to ask them anyway. So now that we have our book and recruiting tool, the big fold out, I call it the flip chart. It's not really a flip chart, but the big fold out. What I like to do with that is when it comes time to share that at your party is, and I share them separately. So I do the book tool and then I might do a couple of tastings and then I do the recruiting tool so I can really call attention to it. At the end of the booking tool, I like to say, hold it straight out and say, I'm always wondering from a marketing perspective what people like the most. Would you write at the top left-hand corner of your order form, which of these appeals to you the most? Is it hanging out with your friends? Is it converting your party to a business? Is it getting free products and half-price products? Which of these appeals to you the most? So now that's giving me a direction when I talk to them about their party, booking a party, I know what they would want. I know their kind of why they would do it. And I don't have to have an extra piece of paper. So I just have them put it at the left, and it's not a yes or no question. Okay? And I always say, and I'm going to do a drawing at the end out of all the order forms, so make sure you put this up there because to be eligible, you're going to have that information at the top. Also, what happens is if someone doesn't place an order, I still have all their information because maybe they didn't place an order because they can't afford it and they need money. So another reason, I still want their information. I still want them to be my contact. Then I do the recruiting tool and I do the same thing. Which of these benefits appeals to you most? Being your own boss, the flexible hours, taking fabulous trips, great income per hour. Write it on the top right-hand side of your order form. And then at the very end of the party, something I haven't done this, I forgot to teach this. I'm so glad this morning it came to me and I thought, why did I quit teaching this? In the middle of your order form, I want you to put a star. And I always have, do you guys have people wear name badges at your party, like stick on name badges? If you don't, I suggest doing it. First off, people like to be called by name. You build a better connection with them if you call them by name. And if you hold a lot of parties, especially, or you get old like me, you forget things. So I put name badges on people. And there's a couple things you can do with it. One of a great opening activity is to take your food cards and put the money, fun, support, simple, and time out on the table in front of where your name badges are, and tell them to write their name and which one of these words resonates with them the most. Then throughout the party, when you're talking about different things in our business, like the support you get or the time that you spend, if let's say Samantha had time, I would say, Samantha, doesn't that sound like it wouldn't take a lot of your time? I don't say because you have time written on your name badge. Or I might say, Annette, does that feel like the kind of support if you were to do a business you'd like to receive? Or Jennifer, does that sound fun? Doesn't that sound fun, Jennifer? Most people don't even connect that you're reading their name badge. But what you're doing is you're connecting with them on a personal level now. You're appealing to what's important to them. But the other reason I like name badges, at the very end, I say, you know what? I'm really into, giving people compliments and paying it forward. And I think it just makes people feel good to receive a compliment. So I want to give you a chance right now to pay someone a really awesome compliment. You've spent this last hour hanging out with some people, some you know, some you don't know. And I want you to write at the top of your order form next to that star, who in this room do you think would make the best chocolatier? And you know what? You can even pay yourself a compliment if you think it's you. Just write the word me. But if not, pick out someone else. What a compliment you've shared with them to say, I think you'd be great at this job. And the only rule is you can't pick me because I'm already a chocolatier. And that way, when people come up, you can say, you know what, Rachel, I have to tell you, 3 different people in here thought you would be the best. It was so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And man, what a great compliment. You really, with that kind of, impact you have on people and some you don't even know, think what you could do with this business starting out with people you do know. And you know what? If 3 have picked you out, I feel it only fair that I offer you the opportunity to hear more. You shouldn't walk away with at least without some information, right? Even if it's just one person. The person that puts me at the top, you say, Angie, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you wrote me because I saw you as one of the best in this room also. Let's get you signed up and going. That person, normally you don't even need to do a cocoa chat with. They wrote me, they have something, they're almost ready to sign. If they need more info, they'll tell you. But a lot of times they're like, okay, I want to do this. And then you have no additional paper. Remember last week I told you I always have a question written on the order form. If they have a question, I do so many calls, I forget. They have a question, I always say, write your question on your order form because I never lose an order form. See how my order form now becomes a wealth of knowledge? And I believe there's something on the order form that says if you want to have a party, circle yes here, or want more information. I don't have my order form out. It used to be there, but I haven't looked at the most current one when I first started, so I probably should do that. But even if they don't circle yes, you still have information about why they would want to do a party, what appeals to them the most. So you're getting a lot of information there that you can use. Phoenix is showing us it's right there on the order form. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, it's right there. And you can even identify if this sounds like fun to you, mark the box it says. And again, tell them, mark the box. People follow directions. If you don't tell them, they'll just skim right over it. If this was fun today, go to the box that says, I'd be interested in having a party, and just put an X in it. I didn't say if you want to have a party, I said if this was fun today. Guess what? They'll mark the box. Then you can say, I'm so glad you marked the box. Let's get you set up for, what day's better for you, a daytime or an evening, a weekend or a weekday, go into giving them choices. So now you've got a lot of information, and now you're ready to share the business with them. So there's also some really great word choices. So sometimes you're not going to get them set up on the spot. Back in the Stone Age when I started this, we called them Big Mac calls. That is, you don't go get a burger at McDonald's. Sorry, ladies. It's the morning after calls. And that was before they had the morning after pill, because now I think that sounds weird, the morning after calls. But it's when you have a party and you want to get with people right away, because remember, a lead's like a banana, it goes bad in 3 days. And we'd call back and say something like, hi, Kate, this is Lori. I met you at Susie's party last night. I just want to call and let you know how glad I am that you joined. And you know what, Kate? I really didn't get a chance to speak with you before you left last night, but you were just so much fun and so friendly. And I loved, your energy around the games and that kind of thing. And I don't know if you've ever thought about anything like this, but that drive and winning spirit you have, you would be so successful. Would it be okay if I just stopped by and brought you some information? So if ever you're looking for something, you'd have the information and you can make an educated decision. Another approach. So many ways that we can take advantage. So whether you pick them out and talk to them there, you should never leave a party without identifying 3 people. The only way you can identify less than 3 people at a party about being a chocolatier is to have less than 3 people there. So I have gone as far as, hi, Jean, this is Lori, and I see you live in Irving. And, with all the construction and building going on in Irving and people moving in and out, I'm looking for people to help me build the business there, and you're the first person that came to mind. Well, yeah, because she had an Irving address, She doesn't have to know that's why she's the first person that came to mind, but it's still a way to get in the door and to let them hear what you're going to say. If you've been in the business very long, and maybe if you haven't even been in the business very long, there's been that person that you've met that you are dying to have on your team. Anybody think of that person that you just would give your right arm and your firstborn to get that person? Don't ever give up on that person. So another thing that happened is did I tell you the story of the girl that I called every month? No? Okay. So back 20-something years ago, I went to a party and I met this girl named Kelly Christensen. And I wanted Kelly on my team so bad, I couldn't see straight. She had actually even done Tupperware before and had been successful, but she wasn't doing it any longer, and it had been years. And I met her at a party in January, and I was like, you are just a dynamo. You have everything it takes to be successful. I want to partner with you. I want to learn from you. I want to, I am so excited about you. It's just, you need to do this, and I want to be there. And she's like, no way, never doing it again. It was fun while it lasted, but I'm just not going to do it anymore. I said, well, can I pay you a compliment and ask you a favor at the same time? And she said, well, yeah, I guess. I said, would it be okay if I called you on the first day of every month and just said, hey, Kelly, it's Lori. I'm checking in to see if things have changed, and now it's time for you to start a Tupperware business. And if you say, no, it's not, I'll say, okay, I'll talk to you next month on the 1st. I said, that's as far as it'll go, but here's the thing, Kelly. I know life brings us unexpected changes, and I don't want to not be there. And you go to some Pampered Chef party and join Pampered Chef because the timing was right. And that does happen. You can do all the work and then someone can reap the benefits because the timing, they happen to be at a party. So February, she said, yeah, she started laughing. And I said, I promise I will tell you, this is your monthly call. That's how I'll start it. I mean, I'm not going to be a pest. So I called her in February, no, March, no, April, no, May, no, June, no, July, no. And then I went to our national conference, and I didn't get home until August 2nd. And on the morning of August 2nd, before 7 a.m., my phone rings. And I just come in on a red eye from Long Beach, California. And I answered my phone groggily, and because we had just gotten in maybe like an hour before, and I said, hello, and she said, hey, Lori, it's Kelly. I'm like, oh, hey, Kelly. She goes, why didn't you call me yesterday? And I said, oh, I was at Jubilee. That's what they call her now. And she knew what it was because I knew she had been in Tupperware. I said, I was at Jubilee and we just got in. I'm so sorry. I was going to call you first thing today. And she said, Well, I've got 6 parties on my calendar and 3 people that join my team. I'm ready to get started. Now, I'm here to tell you, had I not called her February, March, April, May, June, July, that would have never happened. Every month I called her, I was saying, you are valuable, you are worthy, you are fantastic. I didn't have to say those words. They were like 30-second phone calls. So I always had a hot list with people I wanted. And I always said to them, Jen Fitzgerald posted on Facebook, I shared this story on each of my Promote with Passion calls. And Jen Fitzgerald shared a story where she called someone for 4 months and then it happened. On the 4th month, they said, you know what, I think I'm ready. So don't let that know. If you really see something in someone and you really desire and you can be truthful in saying, can I please pay you a compliment and ask you a question? No one's going to say no to you. And say, this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to call you and go, hey, it's January 1st, is the time right? Hey, it's February 1st, is the time right? Are you ready to join my team? March, it's March 1st. Is the timing right yet? Are you ready to make some extra money and join my team? You know, that's all I'm going to say. When you say no, I'm saying, okay, I'll talk to you next month on the 1st or whatever day you choose. You are paying someone a huge compliment by doing that. Just make sure you do it. There's nothing worse than telling someone, hey, I'm going to call you the 1st of every month or the 1st Monday of every month or whatever it is, and then not do it. Because what you're saying is I'm a big fat liar and I didn't think that much of you after all. I was just trying to butter you up at the moment. It's really important. So don't have so many people on that list you can't keep up with it. But when you find that person, be sincere and tell them, okay, that that's what you want. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is what I sent you. And that is the who do I want on my team form. So if everybody can get that form out, I attached it to the invite, asked you to print it. If you didn't get a chance, that's fine. I can talk you through it. If for whatever reason you didn't get the email from me yesterday with this attached, just send me a little note afterwards and I'll send it to you right after the call because this is really important. So real quickly, we use the word recruit in this business for a reason. We are recruiters. When I first joined in the industry, and I may have again told this story, if I start repeating myself, somebody start going like this, okay? When I first joined the business, we were taught to find a need and fill it. And that is very awesome. You can find a need and fill it. However, in today's environment, there's many ways to fill that need. That direct sales was the only way 27 years ago. There weren't the opportunities for women. There wasn't the opportunities to work from home because there weren't computers and internet and that type of thing. In today's environment, there's more ways to fill that need because many big companies allow you to work remote, work from home. There's just more opportunities for women. There's more direct selling companies. So in today's world, I believe we also have to build up a person and make them feel successful because I believe 99.9% of the population does not see themselves as a direct seller. How many people have you ever asked, what are you going to do when you grow up? And they go, I'm going to be a direct seller. You know, it doesn't happen unless maybe mom is, you know, and she's made a really strong influence or dad is. Most people, you know, are going to be a doctor. They're going to do something that they go to school and they get trained in. Well, there's no class on how to be there's not a direct selling degree. It's called the School of Hard Knocks. And it's not out there and you don't get a degree. I should write us all honorary degrees, shouldn't I? And so when you do this, it's very important that we show people that they have the skills, even though they didn't take the class or they didn't go to school for it or they didn't get a degree in it. They have the skills. So if any of you how many of you on this have ever been contacted by like a corporate recruiter about a job in any industry? Have some of you been? Okay, so for those of us that have been, let me kind of tell you what happens. The phone rings, you answer the phone, the person on the other line introduces themselves, tell you who they are, tell you where they're with. a lot of times has a reference place. I found, I saw you on LinkedIn. I was given a person, so-and-so gave me your name, or it's someone that checks in with you often. So there's a reference point. The next thing they do is they start telling you how good you are. Whether it's from reading your resume or getting a referral from a friend or, staying involved in you. Lori, oh my gosh, I see, Dove Chocolate Discoveries over there is really doing fantastic. And I heard through so-and-so, a common person, that your region is growing faster than any other region out there. And y'all recruiting like crazy and the leadership development is just phenomenal. And I'm, my head's starting to swell a little. Yeah, things are going really great. I'm having so much fun. I'm absolutely loving what I do. It's so much fun to see people succeed. Yeah, and I hear that, you've gotten a bigger region now and blah, blah, blah. And they're just building you up, building you up, building you up. And then the next thing that they do is they say, and I know that it's really important to you, Laurie, not to have to relocate, and you really enjoy working from home and having that flexible schedule and being able to, work around Mitch's schedule. They're telling me about my needs and they're filling it. And then they say, and because of that, you were the first person that came to my mind when this job came across my desk. So here comes the invitation. With those skills and the needs and the finances, you'd be the perfect candidate for this. Can I pass your name on? So what have they done? They've built me up, they filled my needs, and they've invited me to here. Guess what? That's all we do here, is if we can do it the exact same way. And by the way, if you can do that for recruiting, it's the same technique for booking, it's the same technique for inspiring leaders, and it's the same technique for developing leaders. You only need to know one thing in this business, one technique. Show people what they're good at, fill their need, tell them what's available, invite them to be part of it. It's the exact same thing we do when we book a party. It's the exact same thing we do when we do a cocoa chat and recruit a person. It's the exact same thing we do when we aspire them to be a leader, and it's the exact same thing we do when we develop them. So if you can book a party but you think you can't recruit, you're wrong. Because if you can book a party, you can recruit. If you can recruit, you can develop. If you can develop, you can promote. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. You're just talking about different. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this at the top. Says, who do I want on my team? And I want you to go through here and I want you to write, who do I know that's friendly, outgoing, great networker, likes to entertain? Now, you might know 10 friendly people. You might know 5 people that have strong initiative. You might know 6 that have are strong team players. You might know 5 that are competitive. And some of those names are going to come up more often than others. You might have someone that is detail-oriented, ambitious, a good communicator, competitive, and likes to succeed. Wow. Don't you want that person on your team? And I want you to come up with 10 people. Then, so you're going to write their name here, okay? Then you're going to write their characteristics. What are the characteristics? And the more characteristics, the better. Then you're going to, you know these people, so then you're going to go, okay, what benefits does DCD offer that would appeal to them? If you know them, you probably know enough about them. Maybe you figured out they like recognition. They like getting awards. They would like to name their own income. They like the part that we give free training, the personal development. They like to be their own boss. You know these things. So write as many benefits as you think that they would really enjoy having. And then you're going to write a personal, this is going to take a little, this is probably the most detailed homework you've ever gotten. But then what you're going to do is you're going to write a personal example of the how and why the characteristics and benefits would be good for them. Just like we did for Brandy yesterday. That personal statement is where you've seen it in action. Ladies, let me remind you, this happens all the time. Being a stay-at-home mom, having a girl is not a business characteristic. That's a situation. what do you see in that person? If the best thing you do is say she's a stay-at-home mom, that's probably not the best person, because you don't know enough about her. That doesn't make her good. Just like working another job doesn't make someone good. What makes them good, and what could they benefit? And then you write that statement. It has to be personal enough. You've had to see it in action. So whether it is, so maybe it's someone at your church, or maybe it's someone you volunteer with on the PTA. Maybe it's someone you work with. Maybe it's someone you went to high school with. Whatever it is, what are the characteristics? Where did you see it in action? And then, what are the benefits? And this is part of your homework, is to complete this, but to send me at least one example. I hope that many of you experience what Ashley Eisen did. Ashley lives in Missouri, and I loved when Ashley came to her coaching call after doing this. She was like high as a kite, and she goes, it was so cool after doing this activity. I walked into my party on Sunday, and I realized I was automatically looking for characteristics in people. I wasn't looking to sell chocolate. I was looking for great business characteristics in people. And she goes, I didn't even think about it. It just kind of hit me in the face because it had changed my focus doing this activity. And she recruited someone at that party. Why? Because it was her number one focus. She walked in with it in her head, this list in her head. If you have to, print out copies of this, take them to your party as you're sitting there so you don't forget doing orders. Write people's names next to those characteristics. While it's fresh in your mind, write people's names next to the benefits that you've heard them talk about that they could enjoy. And then you can easily put your statement together to invite them to hear about the business. Okay? So I want you to complete this weekend, hopefully before your coaching call. That'd be ideal. I'm not going to go over it one-on-one with you. But if you want help doing 3-way calls or a Zoom opportunity meeting or just role playing before you make your phone call, you all have my email, you all have my phone number. You can call me, you can text me. This is going to change your world. I'm telling you, it's going to change your world, and it's going to change your recruiting. So you're getting people and you're building them up for the right reason to be part of your team. So we have 4 minutes left. Does anybody have questions, comments, concerns? So 3 Cocoa chats this week. Ladies, we have to have parties on our calendar every week. If you don't have parties on your calendar every week, quite honestly, I'm not supposed to keep you in this class. That's the honest to goodness truth. I want you in this class. I want you learning, but I want you putting to work what you know and making it work for you. So at least 3 Cocoa chats this week, at least parties on your calendar for January. Hone in on your 30-second commercial. Approach people during the week. This all sounds like a lot of work, but one builds on another, right? You gotta have your 30-second commercial, so when you go to do your approach and you go to do your invite from this list, you're prepared. So even though there's a lot of homework tasks, one builds on the other to make it all simple and cohesive. So any last minute questions before we wrap up today? Don't forget to send your emails to me. Did anybody join? Okay, I think I've got everybody on here. Yes, I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yep, I've got everybody. Okay, any last minute questions before or comments before we wrap up?
I have a question.
Okay.
I know that you want our 30-second commercial, but what you want a personal example of how?
One of these. So when you do your name, so it might say, Melissa, these are the characteristics I see in her. This is the benefits I think she would enjoy. Here's my opening statement.
Okay.
Just one example. I want you to do it for 10 people, but I just want one for you to send me one.
Okay.
Okay, and if you can send me that in a couple of days if you want to send the other stuff while it's fresh on your mind right now, and just send me that once you get to work on it. But Angie, the reason I'm having you do that, even though I do go over this pretty detailed, I'll have people that still will say, because you're stay-at-home mom, and I want to catch that before you get too far into it.
Okay, thanks.
If you're not picking up on the true business characteristics.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions? That was a good one. All right, ladies, have a great week. Call me if you need me. I'd love to do any if you need three-way calls or for recruiting. I know we've got a number of you, Angie, I know Samantha, Rachel, are all going. I know I'm missing someone. Some people going for leader this month. Please don't. Phoenix going for senior team leader. Annette going for senior team leader. Annette could actually, and Dina also, they both could also get to manager. We've got lots of great things happening and part of this group. And which means Jennifer could actually go to senior manager. I mean, there's so many fun things happening. So let me know how I can support or help you. And if any of you have contacts in the Dallas area, Phoenix Sagan is actually having an event at her house, and I'm going to open it up because I know Phoenix is the more the merrier kind of girl. And I'm going over to help her out along with her sponsor, Kathy McCain, who's been in the industry for quite a while. On this Saturday, from 11:30 to 2:30, they'll get to see a party, like a simple tasting. They'll get to have lunch. They'll get the recruiting opportunity and a little bit of training. So it's a 3-hour event. I know it's a long time, but it'll be a casual, over lunch kind of thing. And she lives in the Garland area, which is on the northeast part of Dallas. So if you have any contacts, Phoenix is on Facebook. She has an event page made up. Her name is Phoenix Sagan. Phoenix spelled like the city. You probably won't have a hard time finding her. And I'm sure she'd love to give you the details because the more the merrier, and we'll take really good care of your people. So, and help you get them recruited even far away. Okay? All right, everybody, have a great week. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Lori.
Bye.